Welcome to session 3. We're going to start in our game.js in our create method. We're going to just set some variables and then we put some text on the screen to represent those variables. One thing I'm going to do is grab our context first, so I'm going to just create a constant scene set to this. If you don't know what context or scope is, that's beyond what we're going to do in this module. Just understand that this is a very important keyword in JavaScript that references usually the class that you're working in. But if we start messing with timers and other things, context can get lost. So it's nice to just have a reference. All right, we are going to add a score variable. So we can call it this.score. We're going to set that to 0. And then we're going to put that value on the screen. So I'm going to say this.scoreText equals this.add.text. Oh, let's put it a score. We're going to add our score variable to it. And do a font size and a fill, but I want my font size to be 72 pixels. Run this. And now our score appears on the screen. Oh, my preload. I need to put back title. Start with the title screen. Start, and then our score appears in our game. We also want to put a countdown timer. We're going to put 1 minute on the clock. If you want to set it to a different number, you can. So let's just call this game. Make sure I actually put that in the right file. That needs to go in game.js. All right, so this.timeText equals .add.text. We'll go 1210. And again, we'll pass it the same configuration as last time. We went time, add our game time variable to it, and set it to 72 pixels. Run that. Click. There's our score. There's our remaining time. Now what we want to do is have that timer count down. Okay, so now we're going to create a timer that's down. So phaser to do. Say this.time.add event. That is a function for phaser. We're going to pass it one parameter, which is a configuration object. Put a delay of 1000. That's in milliseconds. So every 1000 milliseconds, this is going to run the callback. Our callback function is just going to be this.gameTime minus equals 1. We're going to subtract 1 from the game time variable we created. Then we're going to say this.timeText.setText. We're going to set it to time plus whatever the current game. Then we have the option, if we wanted to add a callback scope. We're going to put repeat in here equal to -1. Remember, anything less than 0 is going to be an repeat. And then because we grabbed our constant up here, we don't need to worry about the scope. We're just going to say scene.gameTime, scene.timeText. Normally, we would have to pass a callback scope in this, but since we grabbed our constant, we don't have to do that. And so what this is going to do is repeat over and over and over until the game ends. Last thing we need to do is in our callback put a check for what the current time is. Say that if game time is less than or equal to 0, I'm going to say scene.start title. That will take us back to the title screen, but before we do that, we want to say alert. Say final score. Add our score variable to that. Scene.score. So timer's created. Run it. Got an error. Let's see. This.timetext.function, because that's supposed to be time. See that the timer is counting down. Now, one thing we can do if we want to test if this actually works is set our time to a much smaller value. So I'm going to change that to a 3. Now it will count down from 3 to 0, and we can see if our alert. Go. Set final score. We click OK, and we're back at the title screen. So we now have a condition to end the game. Send you back to the title when we're done. So that's it for the timer. Now the next thing that we need to do is actually create a class for the balloons to click on them. So to do this, we need to add a balloon.js file. Over here, new file, call it balloon.js. We're going to load this one in index.html. I would recommend loading it right after Phaser. Okay, so now we can work on our class. We're going to start with class balloon. We're going to give it a constructor. We're going to request one parameter. We're going to want to know what our scene is. Now we're going to actually put the balloon on the screen. So we're going to say this.balloon scene.add .sprite random. We're going to say 0, 0. Our key. So what we're doing here is passing the parameters that the sprite needs. Putting 0, 0, which again is our top corner. We're using balloon key that we loaded in preload. Grab our images. And then we're going to pick a frame. This, we're going to say balloon underscore 0 plus, and now we're going to use math. Phaser.math.random. Pick between 1 and 4. And what that is going to do is select a balloon from among the 4 different frames of balloon that we have. I'm going to add a string. Say this dot string equals dot add dot sprite. Then I want to be down below the balloon. I'm going to use the balloon's value to put the string. So we're going to say this dot balloon dot y plus this dot balloon. Yep. So and then our key for the string is underscore. underscore 01. After that, we are going to create a container. And a container is just sort of an invisible object, game object in Phaser that allows you to put multiple objects inside of it. That way we can manipulate the container and all the pieces of the balloon will move together instead of having to say this dot container equals scene dot add dot container. We're going to go to 0, 0. It doesn't have a texture. We don't need to pass any texture to it or frames or that. We do want to set the depth randomly. Say this dot container dot set depth. We want that to be again randomized. Phaser dot math dot random, say between 1 and 5. Then we're going to actually add the balloon and the string to the container. So we say this dot container dot add. I'm going to add this dot balloon and this dot string. So you can either pass it as an array like this if you want to, or you can do it on 2 separate lines. This dot container dot add, this dot balloon. Without the array, either one is fine. Now, last thing we want to do is make sure that the balloon is on top of the string. Otherwise, the balloon isn't look right. So to do that, we're going to say this dot container dot bring to front top. Sorry, bring to top. And we're going to tell it which one that we want to have on top, and we want that to be the top balloon. So what we have done is we have created parts of the balloon. Have created an invisible container to move all balloon parts as one object. This, we're adding balloon parts to the container. Making sure string is behind the balloon. Now, this is good code and everything's finished and ready to go, but we don't actually have any balloons in our scene yet. We have a class. Now we need to actually use that class. So one way to test it is we can come over here to our game.js file. And after our timer, and again, this is just testing. So I'm going to say new balloon parentheses this. And what that should do is put a balloon on my screen. And we get an error. Phaser.math.random is okay. So after some digging, the error was that it is phaser.math.between, not .random. That needs to be 7 and line 11. See that when we click start menu, the game starts and our balloon here. Now it's not doing anything. That does tell me that the class is working how it's supposed to. So let's add some more functionality to our balloons. The first thing to do is we need to activate the physics system and apply physics to our container. So we're going to say this scene.physics.add .existing, and what that's going to do is it is going to assign physics to an already existing object in the game that was created without physics to begin with. And we just need to pass that this .container, and now our container has a physics body. I'm going to say this .container .body .set allow gravity and we're going to set that to false, and the physics gravity will not drag the balloon down. It will simply go up. We're going to say also that we want to set the velocity. So this dot container dot body. Body has everything involving physics. Speed, you want to look for collision. Body is the property that contains all of that. Say dot set velocity x. Oh, we want them going up. We want the set velocity. X would give left to right drift. If you want to add that as a second line, you're more than welcome to. That'll make them fly at an angle. And for our speed, remember we want negative numbers because we're going up. Phasor up is negative. We'll just say that it's going to be phasor dot math dot between. And we can do negative 100, negative 800. Negative 800 will be moving. And that will now make the balloon appear up. Next thing we want to do is we want to give it a new position. So we're going to say this dot container dot set position. And we're going to go phasor dot math dot between. Oh, let's go. Left is 1600. Where I'm getting a between row 1600. And for our Y, we want that to be our Y is going to be 1300 pixels. That way the balloons always end up starting below the screen and coming up. And last thing I want to do, let's give them a random scale. So just size a little bit. Say this dot container dot set scale. And we'll do another phasor dot math dot between. And we'll say so what this should do, give it physics, make sure gravity doesn't pull it down, make sure that the up, we're going to position it randomly somewhere in the screen, and then we are going to set the scale to a random size. Okay, this is what we want.